Your meeting, I will go ahead and also share the screen for your agenda this morning. Thank you so much for having the association team and pulling this together in a virtual format.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Kendall and the association team for helping us make this meeting possible and doing the hard work. We're just sitting back kind of on cruise. Of course, I need to thank Tracy here because she's pulled together most of the local stuff. But I want to welcome everybody to the meeting, and it's really good to hear we've got 50-something people participating today. I think that's an excellent number of participants for us for our spring meeting. I want to just go ahead and move into the agenda. And the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the Area 4 winter meeting, which was a Zoom meeting on November the 4th. I think everybody received a copy of those minutes, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. So moved. Pete Farmer moved that we approve the minutes. We need a second.
I'll second.
David Frazier, second. And Kendall, we're gonna put this up on the screen for a vote or just?
I think you can do this by yay, nay.
Yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same. I think most people are on mute because I want to assume not hearing any objections that the minutes are approved. Daryl over with DCR said he could only attend about the first 30 minutes of the meeting. So I think we will change our agenda just a little bit and get the update from DCRs. Daryl?
Good morning, sir. I'm hoping that Director Chrisman is on. All right, I'm not hearing him. Yes, actually, he's the one that has the time constraint, but I'll start and maybe he'll get the sign on by the time I'm done. I'm going to give you the programmatic updates. If Clyde is unavailable, I mean, I know Kendall has information on the budget. Maybe she can jump into that. But realizing that a lot of Area 4 is not within the Chesapeake Bay watershed, there are things happening in the Bay watershed that will impact the part of the state outside of the Bay, particularly when it comes to what's going on with the VAX program. So please indulge me because some of this is specific to the Bay, but will have implications for areas outside of the Bay. You may have heard that there was a farmer survey coordinated by Virginia Cooperative Extension that several agencies, the Office of the Secretary of Natural Resources, as well as Farm Bureau and Agribusiness Council and others of the association worked on. We've received responses back on that. The rate of responses was not as nearly as much as hoped for, but we'll be having discussions about how we can use such data for our reporting in continued meetings of the Volunteer BMP Task Force. The Department and the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources Conservation Service will soon be moving forward with implementation of a memorandum of agreement to share location information on specified types of federally funded expired and expiring BMPs within the Bay watershed. So there'll be a letter going out from the department to those farmers who NRCS provides to us, from whom, in order to receive from them written authorization to do a BMP verification inspection, and then aggregate that data back to the county level and report it along with our other data. And of course, you know, the gap in federal practices once they go through their initial lifespan has been a big concern and will greatly help us towards meeting our BayWIC goals. Also related to the Bay, and that will have statewide implication, is that in response to the Bay Bill, which has two agricultural backstops, one is nutrient management plans for 50 acres or more, and also livestock stream exclusion for 20 or more cattle. As a result of that, in the issue with leased land, particularly for beef cattle, the board approved a portable livestock stream exclusion fencing B&P specification that will go into effect on July 1. It will be available everywhere. So the board will be meeting, the board had its March meeting. Of course, it has its 3 meetings in the spring to get the program set up for the following fiscal year. Their next meeting is April 21st. And then they'll start considering allocations of funding as well for FY22 at that meeting. And then by their May meeting, of course, the entire process will be complete and the program will be finalized, and then VAX training will begin in early June. Another thing that the board approved in order to help farmers to get their B&Ps in, particularly structural practices, is a mobilization payment pilot project, which will include both Daniel Boone and Lonesome Pine districts. This will allow up to 20% or $20,000 for an upfront payment to producers to get these structural practices underway, so that the producer doesn't have to front all of the money up in the beginning in order to get these practices installed. Of course, the DEQ Ag B&P Loan Program is also back up and running for over a year now, and that's another option to provide some upfront capital in order to get practices on the ground. Regarding the Ag B&P Technical Advisory Committee, of course, last year had to be entirely virtual because of COVID-19. And given that vaccinations are taking place and restrictions will be loosening up for meeting gatherings to a small degree on April 1st, we are very hopeful that at least the TAC committees will be able to meet in person at the available venues that we have access to. But the full TAC, we're simply going to have to wait and see if that's going to be possible this year. But for last year, the TAC held its final informational webinar on December the 17th, and we had received written comments from TAC members with regards to those suggestions all throughout the process, the committee process as well last year. But the full TAC could only vote on the statutorily required portable stream exclusion B&P specification that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Consequently, 22 suggestions for potential changes to VAX have been deferred until in-person meetings can resume, again, hopefully at least at the committee level this year. 14 suggestions were tabled and 12 have been advanced to the Soil Conservation Board for their consideration. The program, we hope, will advance higher participant caps. Of course, they were raised to $100,000 back in FY20. We're hoping the board will approve increasing that further to $150,000 per participant per year. There's also continued expansion of stream exclusion options, as I've mentioned. In the past couple of years, we've had the buffer payments for wider buffers. Also development of a new suite of continuing conservation initiative maintenance payments for B&Ps to keep them functional. Expansion of animal waste specifications, 4 new ones for livestock confinement for the first time. Higher cover crop cost share rates, of course, do specialty crop options. We also are going to have proposed to the board and have had discussions with DEQ as well to extend cover crop planting dates on average about 15 days to deal with the effects of climate change and the longer growing seasons. And a variety of new specifications for nutrient management and vegetative cover over the past couple of years. Also, expansion of the SO7 watering system practice. So we hope with all of this, we're giving farmers all over the state, not just in the Bay, greater flexibility to help get conservation on the ground. For conservation planning, this has also been impacted by COVID to a degree. We have The board has approved basically a case-by-case extension of 60 days for district staff who have their DCR conservation planning certification, an additional 60 days on a case-by-case basis in order to complete their contact hours. Now, although COVID has severely limited in-person meetings and in-person training, there are a lot of virtual trainings that are available, as most who have offered training in the past have shifted to a virtual format because of COVID. So we're hopeful that by this 60 days, which has to be requested, is not automatic, everyone will be able to catch up. Now, with regards to those who are waiting to get their certification, we have had a couple of classes kind of to wrap up the first, or I guess it'll be the second round of conservation planning training. And there are approximately 30 district staff who will have the opportunity to have their first conservation plan field reviewed this spring. Caulfield Goyne, our conservation planning training coordinator, will be traveling across the state, going region by region, in order to meet with your planners or your staff in the field to review and approve their conservation plan, so that we can hopefully get as many of these 30 or so district staff DCR conservation planning certified. And we've also, starting the new round of training has already started for the next group of district staff. The FY23 district budget template, or attachment D, has undergone review by the peer review committee, which is made up of one representative from each of the 6 district association areas. They proposed 2 updates to the template, and these have already been presented to the board, and we hope that they will approve them in a couple of weeks. One involves projections of future administrative support needs, and the other will capture staffing demand related to district dam rehabilitation projects. So hopefully that will be helpful to those districts as well. And then finally, the Shoreline Erosion Advisory Service, or SEAS, received an award from the association back on December 2nd, when our SEAS staff were honored to receive the 2020 VCAP Community Partner Award. Northern Neck District nominated us for this award. Of course, I don't have to tell anyone on this call that VCAP is, of course, a program of the association. Is a residential cost share program that provides financial incentives to property owners. One of the VCAP eligible BMPs within the Bay watershed is Living Shorelines, and Department C staff support coastal districts by providing technical assistance in the proper siting, selection, design, installation, and maintenance of these living shorelines. This was the inaugural year for this VCAP award, created so that districts might celebrate a partner who assists property owners and districts in implementing VCAP. And we are certainly very proud to have received this reward. And I personally thank you for that. And then lastly, we have made a few hires. We promoted Marissa Rowland from to Conservation District Coordinator position in our Tappahannock office. We have just hired Anita Tuttle to be our new Urban Nutrient Management Program Coordinator. We have just hired Cornell Francis, who's a graduate student from Purdue University, as our new Diversity Outreach Intern for this year. And our business manager position within Soil and Water, Dam Safety Floodplain, that position has closed, and we will be interviewing to fill that position, hopefully within the next several weeks. Well, that concludes my programmatic report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Did Clyde join us?
I don't believe so, Mr. Boring.
Okay.
I can certainly speak to some of those budget topics, and if he does pop in, can certainly pause and allow him to speak.
Okay. Do you want to just go ahead and start with the association update?
I can do that, and we've got a number of folks on the line that can help fill in some gaps and assist me with the association update. For those on the line, I'm Kendall Tyree, the executive director of your association. I know most of you, but there's certainly some new names that I look forward to meeting in person too. On your screen, you should be seeing a PowerPoint association update with some topics we'd really like to give you some information on. First, before I jump right into some of the program piece, I really want you to know how appreciative and excited I am to work with such a phenomenal leadership team, not just your area chair, Mr. Boring, but you have an executive board who makes up our team here that helps me get in the day-to-day weeds of some of our program needs and direction. Your association president, elected again for a second term this past December, is Janina DeMaio France from Tri-County District. I believe Janina is on the line, and if so, wanted to offer her a chance to give a few comments. And Janina, your co-president on the foundation side, Mr. Chafin, is not able to join. So he has said, go for the reins and talking about some of those topics that cross over the foundation too.
Sure, I'd be happy to do so. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us here today to give us an update. I'm excited to see so many individuals participating in today's virtual area meeting. First off, I want to thank everyone, our area chair and vice chair, as well as all the district board of directors and district staff for continuing to do an exceptional job in this virtual environment. I know that different districts across the Commonwealth are in different stages of coming back into the office, and based on comfort and facilities and what they have available for social distancing. And I really do, it's been a crazy year and it's still a little bit nutty, but I think that we're all doing an exceptional job. I'd like to give kudos to our association staff while I have them on the line here, because they have really done a phenomenal job of running our association and keeping soil and water conservation and education moving throughout the pandemic. And many of this will echo what I spoke to at the annual meeting back in December, our virtual meeting there. They continue to astound me with their efforts. Specifically, I want to give a shout out to Bonnie Mull. I have to say that even within our district, I believe the hardest staff member hit has been our education coordinator. Education has historically been done in person with kids, our K through 12 group and high school students, and things like the Envirothon and youth conservation camp have all been run in person up until the last year, where we've had to do a virtual training event. So it takes a lot of coordination, and Bonnie has done an exceptional job coordinating with all the district staff and all the areas. And I think it's really important to give a shout out to her. And I know that she'll be giving you, I believe, a short Envirothon update coming up soon. Also, both our VCAP Association staff, Kevin and Maura, have done a great job of continuing to work with directors, district staff on reaching out to homeowners and ways to do that in a virtual space, and ways to still do our site visits and assessments, social distancing. And then, of course, Kendall has really done a fabulous job with support from Shannon. I'll have to add her. I don't want to leave her out, and keeping things going. And Kendall really went above and beyond this legislative general session season, because it was really different. There are no in-person, walking around the hall. It's communicating with our legislators in a virtual environment. In some ways it was really good, because we could really nail down those 15 minutes that sometimes are hard to get on the floor with so many other individuals trying to share their plans and their agendas with legislators to get bills of interest moving. And so I think we're very fortunate. I think in the end, things turned out really well for us, and Kendall will be giving you an update here shortly. Just to hit on a couple of things that Kendall has on the screen again, we'll be doing virtual Envirothon. It'll be a virtual youth conservation camp, but they've changed the name, and I continue to forget what it's called, but Bonnie could tell us when we get there. They've combined two different camps this year, but it will be a virtual conservation camp approach. I'm excited to tell you that, and Kendall's going to give me a big smile here, that on May 19th, we will be having our golf tournament in person in Richmond at the Hollows. And this is really exciting for me because it's the first time that we've actually been able to get out and see some people from far away. But, you can still have your little team of 4 and run around in your cart, and we're working on ways that we can practice social distancing with the Hollows and still have a really good event. And again, legislative issues, I believe Kendall's going to talk about those. So again, I won't take up too much more of your time. With the help of our association executive board, myself, Lynn Graves as my first vice president, Wayne Davis as our second vice president, Don Wells as secretary, and Stephen Meeks as your NACD representative on behalf of our board, as well as the Education Foundation board. And Richard, we'd like to thank you again for everything that you've done to keep your districts moving throughout the year. And we're very much looking forward to a future we can get together in person again. So I'm going to turn it back over to Kendall now and let her and the association staff continue with the rest of our updates. So thank you, Mary, and thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, President France. You did a really good overview of some of the projects that are keeping us busy, even if we can't meet in person. I do want to focus on some of the topics Janina mentioned and give a little bit more detail, and hope Bonnie can come off mute and join us on screen to provide an update on those education programs. The Envirothon, as Janina mentioned, is going virtual. Huge kudos to those that participated in the virtual event. As Janina mentioned, the Youth Conservation Camp is also now the Natural Resource Academy. Bonnie, are you off mute and able to join us? Would you like to give a highlight of some of these projects for us?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bonnie Mall, for those of I haven't met yet, and I'm the association's education and training coordinator. And one of the programs I oversee is the Virginia Dominion Energy Envirothon. And like President France said, it's all virtual this year. And I really want to give kudos to all the areas are working combinedly. So Area 4 is working with Area 5. And I really want to give a huge kudos to Siobhan from Clinch Valley, Sarah from Evergreen, Rachel from Holston River, Edna from Big Sandy, Elizabeth from Tazewell, for all really stepping up to the plate and helping. And also how they're all like leaning in and learning Zoom and learning Class Marker and learning all these new technology tools to really support their teams and really support the Envirothon. So huge kudos to all the people that are working in Area 4 and 5 to put on a really good Envirothon for the students. Regarding Youth Conservation Camp, we are we're collaborating with the Virginia Department of Forestry and creating the Virginia Academy of Natural Resources for 9th through 12th graders. It's going to be virtual. In the morning, there'll be live presentations for the students to learn more about aquatics, forestry, soils, wildlife. And on Friday, they're going to do a virtual mock Envirothon. And the goal is to really teach the students about natural resources and still give them that experience, but in a virtual setting. So the deadline to apply is April 30th, and more information can be found on our website. And again, just if I can just say thank you to all the education staff who are really being innovative and using different tools to really promote their education projects. And I'm sure you'll see more of it with the area when you guys do your district highlights.
Thank you, Bonnie. Unless there are questions from Bonnie, that's a good overview of our foundation programs, some of our flagship programs. As she mentioned, Dominion and supporters for the Envirothon are huge. She also didn't give herself enough kudos. She's also really heading up our Youth Conservation Leadership Institute program still as our biggest program of students yet this year in a virtual format. And with her help and Shannon Mitchum, we've got scholarships that are due at the end of this month. Shannon Mitchum in our office helps with a number of programs, and I've always really said our team is a team-based approach, and we all kind of have all hands on deck and cross-train where we can. So photo contest, poster contest. All of those things are things that we try to work on together. Shannon, are you on the line and would like to speak about both the directory and scholarships as well as photo contest?
I am. I'm right here. So just a couple of things. The deadline for scholarships is April 23rd. I've already started receiving a couple. And photo contest is July 30th. We've already had probably about 24 submissions, photos that is, not individuals, for the photo contest. So everyone just get that out there, post it on your Facebook page or on your website. And that's it. If anyone has any questions, just email me or give me a call.
Thank you, Shannon. The membership directory this year, unfortunately, we can't pass them out at an in-person area meeting, is in print right now. And within the next few weeks, you should be receiving at your office roughly three printed directories. Won't be mailing them to you. Also, please keep in mind, Shannon keeps that directory up to date on our website throughout the year. So if your district has any changes, edits, or you need to even access it, since we're reducing the number of directories this year, please find that on our website and keep Shannon posted. I also would mention, if you're interested in serving on our scholarship committee, please let me know. We'll be working on pulling that together after that April 23rd deadline. And I can't leave this topic without really shouting, just like Janina, that the Hollows is going to be a really fun day. And while I know it's a long trip for y'all, if there is the opportunity to be a whole sponsor at $100, we would appreciate the district's support. The programming for the foundation is still full steam ahead, and fundraising has been tough in the last year as a result. So we have reshaped that golf tournament day. We'll start at 10. We will forego our banquet dinner. We'll do a box lunch in the middle of the day. So it would actually make a really good team building day, and you would be really mostly around your 4 people that play. I'm gonna keep on moving into the next slide unless there are questions and try to pick up speed a little bit for you. On your screen, you've got a list of upcoming virtual trainings. The first 3 are ones that just wrapped up our video creation workshop. This was a really neat series that built upon itself. And yesterday afternoon, we saw a number of videos that districts themselves had produced. If you are still interested in having any of that content, watching those videos, learning how to edit videos, those sessions were recorded, and I encourage you to reach out to Bonnie Mall to get the workbook as well as the video sessions. We do have a couple that are still coming up on our website you can register for. April 7th is our nutrient management and precision ag training. We've got really great support from DCR and NRCS. Chris Lawrence is going to be speaking on this, as well as Bob Waring, David Bryan, and a number of other folks. And this is one of those trainings that Mr. Glover noted was providing in a virtual format CEUs. So if you do need conservation planning or nutrient management CEUs, this is one to really be on the lookout for and register on our website. On April 9th, we are helping host the Soil and Water Conservation Society's meeting. And then on May 4th, also in reference to a topic Mr. Glover spoke about, is the Attachment D. We'll be doing an hour session to really review the Attachment D process and ensure that you are up to speed on how to submit by the July deadline. There are other meetings I want on your radar. Our quarterly board meeting will be held over Zoom from 9 to 12 on April 14th. You can register for it like any of our other trainings, like this area meeting, on our website. On May 10th, we'll hold our next Admin Ops Committee meeting in the afternoon. This group met in the last week or so and started planning a number of great trainings, as well as talking about putting on retainer CPA for districts to have as a resource. We'll be really rolling that out further at that May meeting and talking about how we implement that, but that is certainly moving forward, as is a QuickBooks training series that group has been working on for the summer, and a 1099 training series with Sarah Adams that you should be on the lookout for this coming fall. The next slide really does reference some of the General Assembly items, and I'll pause just to make sure that Director Chrisman didn't join. If he did, I won't steal some of his thunder and let him speak to some budget topics. Okay. On your screen is the deposit to the Water Quality Improvement Fund. As Janina mentioned, this was a unique session in terms of not being able to be in the building. Certainly made us recognize how important those elevator conversations we have are. But at the same time, we found those silver linings of really being able to hone in and get Zoom meetings and connect with folks for short periods of time, because they devoted that full 10 to 15 minutes to talk about our topics. On the budget side, we are really excited that the General Assembly did increase the governor's proposed amount from $500,000 for our VCAP program back to the $1 million we had this past fiscal year. We have grown the program significantly and are really excited for Southern Rivers projects to come to our steering committee. With that, I'm going to pause and see if Kevin McLean, who is on the line, has any updates he wants to provide you on VCAP.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kendall. And very glad to be joining you all today. I wish we could have traveled down to that part of the state this morning. I always really enjoy that, but glad to see y'all on here. Maura is not able to join us today, our VCAP assistant coordinator, because she is assisting with the VCAP Technical Advisory Committee meeting at the same time. And I will say, if anyone on here is interested in joining that group to kind of inform how VCAP manages our specifications and reports our BMPs and sets cost share rates and caps, please just reach out and let me know. I want to thank everyone on here who has been still working on VCAP efforts during the past year when funding has been extremely tight and working conditions have been very strange. Two of our Area 4 districts, Evergreen and Tazewell, have not only submitted their first VCAP applications, but finished their first VCAP projects during the pandemic. So that's a huge task, and we appreciate that. And most importantly, with the $1 million that's coming July 1, that does include funding for all districts all across the state, which is always our goal. So if you've been thinking about VCAP, if you previously pursued VCAP and kind of put it on the back burner because of the pandemic and everything else, let's talk now and get that ball rolling again, because we want to be kind of pursuing things by July 1, because there will be probably a big push. And just remember, if you haven't done VCAP before, your projects do get bonus ranking points to move you up the list, to kind of give you a leg up and get in the game. That's really it for VCAP right now. Just reach out if you have any questions. I will say, while I'm off mute, we're having an unusually high number of people that are getting bumped off of this call and coming back on. I'm still watching the wait room, so if you do get bumped off, just keep trying, keep getting back on. Hopefully it's not affecting too many people, but that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Kevin. A few other items to note on the screen. Part of our legislative agenda this year was voted on during our December virtual annual meeting was a bill that we pursued to clarify the representation on the Soil and Water Board. And we are excited that not only was that bill introduced by Delegate Plum and Senator Hanger, it has now been signed by the governor to clarify the composition on that board and ensure that there is geographic representation. If you have any questions about that, let me know, but certainly we'll be working through that process for other areas who have representatives coming up for their term. Adam Wilson serves as our Area 4 rep to the Soil and Water Board in case you have any questions about their work. A lot of these budget numbers that I'm referencing are then passed on to the Soil and Water Board, where they determine the allocation amounts for your cost share, your admin ops funding during their spring sequence of meetings, one that is coming up in April and then again in May. I would also note we're excited that $170,000 was added to the budget for meaningful watershed education. And this is one we have let DCR know we are very excited and interested to learn more as they work through that RFP and what it means for grants, of which we hope districts are eligible. So stay tuned as we learn more as that process unrolls. The other item to really note is that cost share funding was significantly successful. We had a great budget win for natural resources this year, including on the VAX funding side. The numbers on your screen show the investment that has occurred for this budget round and what you should be expecting come July 1 for ag cost share dollars. I would say that while the governor did include some additional funding for ag BMPs and ensured that TA-based funding was there during his proposed budget in December, the General Assembly went above and beyond and provided an additional $30 million. So you'll see that funding provided for Ag BMPs is roughly around 61. You've got technical assistance noted on your screen too. We're excited that that baseline TA of 4.55 remains there for a $35 million program, and anything over it is then triggered for additional TA. Note that these funding levels are not including the recordation fee or the technical assistance that's related to that. So those numbers could easily go up another 10 million or so. I don't believe Stephen Meeks is on the line, so I will run through some of these slides fairly quickly on his behalf. He is your NACD board rep representing Virginia at the national level. Just like you have a state association, the national works on a number of topics with Congress. This past February, they held their virtual annual meeting. You see a number of items on the screen in reference to that. We are excited that Stephen Meeks was elected as the Southeast Region Chair at the national level and pulls together the leadership and all of the Southeast region, which is right here noted on your screen. Also, during the NACD virtual meeting, Virginia was recognized for a number of awards, not just membership support and top 10 supporting states, but also for our director training program. We referenced a number of the upcoming trainings that we've been doing in a virtual setting and the topics we've been covered, and that recognition from the national level really is very meaningful. We also had a lot of great recognition, poster contest winners, as well as our photo contest winners. So please note that those photos that you send to us, we then encourage move on to the national contest. And then the poster contest entries you send to Bonnie, we move on and advance those to the national level. We're really excited we had so much Virginia recognition. Right around the corner is Stewardship Week, April 25th through May 2nd. This year's poster contest theme is Healthy Forest, Healthy Communities. I noted that we've wrapped up our video creation workshop yesterday, and at the conclusion of it, we had a number of videos that we watched about healthy forest, healthy communities that districts themselves pulled together. We'll be highlighting those videos on our Facebook page during Stewardship Week, and NACD will be highlighting too also. So I encourage you to pay attention and use those in your own programming needs. And we've talked a bit about photo contests. The theme is conservation through the local lens. Some upcoming meetings to really have on your calendar. The quarterly board meeting we've talked about is the golf tournament also. Stephen will be representing you at both the summer board meeting in July and the Southeast region meeting in August. The National Envirothon is also virtual setting in late July. And then I know your Employees Association will always talk to you too about the upcoming Graves Mountain training, but keep those calendar dates handy also for you. With that, I will wrap up and ask, if you are not a member of our all district listserv, I encourage you to join. Shannon Mitchum in our office will drop in the chat box the instructions for how to join our all district. We use this listserv to reach our broadest audience on topics that are of importance to directors and staff, be it any good news or news that we need to share with our membership, but also upcoming trainings, board meeting materials, grants that might be of interest or more. So please, if you're not a member of All District, take a look in the chat box and Shannon will post that for you shortly. I appreciate you hanging in there with me. We covered a lot of topics, and unless there are questions, Mr. Boring, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Kendall. I do appreciate that report. Our next topic is NRCS update, and Kendall, Dr. Martinez has a video he wants to share, so whatever we need to set up for him to share. And with that, I'd like to ask Dr. Martinez, State Conservationist for NRCS, to join us.
Good morning. Thank you, Tracy, and morning to everyone. I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to try to share here real quick. Let me know when you can see it.
Okay, it's up.
Perfect. Let me make sure my screen is set up here. 1 second. There we go. There we go. All right, good morning, everyone. I have a few updates regarding NRCS Virginia. And I'm taking the opportunity as I participate in these meetings to first thank you for the partnership and your conservation efforts, and also taking the opportunity to introduce myself as I get to meet individual areas. So thanks for the time provided to me to do some updates. Really briefly, been here for about 6 months. I'm coming from the Washington, D.C. area, where I used to be the Great Lake Restoration Initiative program manager. Been with the agency for about 15 years and work in multiple states from Nebraska, Puerto Rico, California, now in Virginia. I'm original from Puerto Rico and have worked in multiple locations and multiple positions. I'm really happy to be here in Virginia working as a state conservationist. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to work with all of you. A few slides on the state conservationist priorities. These has been shared with some of the associations in the past, but primarily what I would like to make sure that I convey the message regarding that we would like to see Virginia to continue to be in the forefront for conservation. And you're key players on doing that, so I really appreciate that. We will continue to treat our staff as our most valuable resource, and you may have seen some of the initiatives that are ongoing right now to try to increase our capacity in the state to do so. Also, sustain and enhance our collaboration with local, state, and federal agencies. This is really critical for us, especially for me as a new state conservationist. Core training, and this is something that we both benefit. I have seen the staff, the NRCS team members working hand in hand with the Soil and Water Conservation Districts to be able to join your trainings and learn from your trainings and the other way around. So I'm really happy to see that happening here in Virginia. Expand our partnership network, and this is just to allow us to get to those audiences that we may not be able to get as an agency. And then continue working on water quality. So one of the things that I would like to mention, you may have seen, and I have mentioned this, and the team members have mentioned this in previous meetings, we're currently hiring. There's a lot of opportunities out there that the agency has to increase the agency capacity. So there's some soil conservationists, soil conservation technicians, civil engineers, civil engineer technicians, and archaeologists, agronomists, forester, natural resource specialists, you name it. We have about 22 positions in the state that we're hoping to hire between now and July. So if you know about individuals that are highly qualified and interested, these are entry-level positions for the most part. We will be really happy to, if you could assist us promoting these opportunities. Regarding Area 4, the Assistant State Conservation for Field Operations hired a soil conservationist technician in the Bonsac Service Center. Also, there's an announcement for a civil engineer technician in the Abington Service Center. So just keep those positions in mind. This is FY20, and there's a lot of information in here, but the only thing that I would like to highlight is where we are when we talk about Virginia conservation as an agency in the state. So we have about 2,414 active contracts. This is only 2020. It doesn't include 2021. And that total is about $131 million in Farm Bill Conservation Programs funds, targeting over 518,000 acres. This is through EQIP, CSP, and RCPP. It's really important to mention that in FY 2020, we got about $24.6 million in Farm Bill conservation programs, and we funded about 441 contracts. Looking into the future, or right now, the Farm Bill FY21, we got about $23.3 million in funding allocated to the state for EQIP. And then we also have about $11.8 million in funding allocated to CSP. For EQIP, we already have received about 1,200 applications in the system. We also allocated about $300,000 for the CIG grant, or Conservation Innovation Grant, for the state to do soil health. So we're focusing on soil health projects, and there's about $300,000. The request for proposal will be coming out soon, so stay tuned. In regards to our easement programs, there's significant interest on easements in the state. We have about $1.4 million for FY21 allocated into the state for the different wetland programs or easement programs that we have. We have received multiple applications for the different programs from ALE 4, For WRE3, we have already closed out 2 ALE agreements in the state, and we received an application for this Healthy Forest Reserve Program. So there's a lot of good easement work being done in the state, and we're looking forward to continuing doing so. Programs updates, and here something that is really important is to mention the local working groups. And the local working groups right now, the district conservationists are working locally to collect that information that will be used in FY 2022. As you know, with the local working groups, what we try to do is collect what are those local resource concerns that are happening at the field office level, working with local partners, and making sure that we take in consideration those at the state level, so that when we plan for practices, budget, etc., those are being taken in consideration. Programs deadlines, this is important. The EQIP ranking deadline is coming up. It's April 23rd. And then the CSP Classic application deadline is April the 30th, as right now. I mentioned about CIG, the Regional Conservationist Partnership Program, the request for proposals is out. That's something else that is really important, is really beneficial. We have multiple RCPP projects in the state. And then the next State Technical Committee meeting is coming up as well. It's going to be on May 27 at 10 a.m. So if you're able to participate, please do so. As you may have seen in previous meetings, the approach that I have taken, in addition for NRCS provide updates and listen to local partners, we're allowing about 2 partners per State Technical Committee meeting to provide updates and share any of their success stories that they may have. FY21 programs, but at the area 4 level. What I was giving you before was a perspective at the state level. These are numbers at your area level. So we have about 236 applications in ProTrax in our system, contracting system. They have about 414 active contracts right now, and over 5,000 conservation practices that have been planned. And that sums up to about $37 million in conservation farm bill programs in FY21 for the area. This is just a summary of application versus contract. It's really interesting to see what happened behind the scenes internally in the agency. So you can see here from 2016 to 2020, that's a 5-year term. You can see how many applications, the applications are in blue, how many applications we received versus how many contracts we're able to fund based on the funding that we receive in the state. It's really important to see that trend that it seems like we have continued to receive applications. FY20, FY19, we got 260, and then in FY20, we have 447 applications. This does not show FY21 because we're still working on those deadlines, but keep that in mind. And then in regards to the FY19 and FY20 funded contracts, we have about 161 in FY19 and 116 in FY20. So you can see the trend. The other thing that I would like to mention for Area 4 is the estimated cost versus obligated amounts. In this is the same approach. You will see that the blue is what is in the books of work that need to be done. And then FY16, for example, the green just shows how much money was obligated in that year. You can see the difference between every fiscal year. FY20, about 21 million were needed for conservation efforts based on the applications that they received. And then about $11 million were obligated. So that's kind of almost half, a little bit more than half of the funding that was allocated into the area. The MOU and MOA. So MOU, we're working with a couple conservation districts and local offices to make sure that we have a finalized version of the MOU for the state that then we can release and work with all the individuals in the state to make sure that we can address this task and have something that is consistent that will work for you and that will work for the agency. In regards to the MOA, or the data sharing memorandum of agreement, I think DCR mentioned some of the updates. We're making a significant amount of progress. We're in the final stage, having all the final documents ready for us to start working on a potential pilot area before we release these at the state level. So we're making a significant amount of progress in there. Going back to technical trainings, and this is really critical, as you have seen, Soil and Water Conservation Districts, NRCS, and other partners have adapted to the virtual world. And we're technical agencies and entities, and it's really important that we continue to do what we do best, that is conservation. The agency has been able to do a lot of different trainings. Some of them are in conjunction with the Virginia Soil and Water Conservation Districts. For example, the fundamentals of erosion, Russell 2, and others that have been offered working with the Soil and Water Conservation District. Partnership is really critical in these days, especially, I will say especially during these times, because as you know, we don't have direct contact with landowners as much as we would like to, as much as we need to as conservationists in the state. And having the opportunity to do a lot of virtual training, virtual communication has allowed us to get to where we are right now with conservation implementation, planning, and obligations. So I'm really happy to see that the numbers, one of the federal agencies that have continued to do a lot of work and the mission that we follow, that is conservation under the Department of Agriculture, has been NRCS. It was recently recognized by the department that we were able to adapt to the virtual world and continue to do a lot of conservation in the state. So with that, those are some of the updates that I wanted to provide. I leave you with a few questions that I have shared with my staff and other meetings that I have attended. What are we doing right? What do we need to do better? And then what is our biggest opportunity? Biggest opportunity working with you in Area 4, for example. You don't have to answer any of these questions now, but I just would like to have you all thinking about these questions. I'm a new state conservationist in here, and I'm all ears and a good listener just to make sure that I understand what's happening in the state, and I'm learning from all of you of what's happening and how we could improve our conservation efforts, especially our partnership. So I wanted to share those updates with you, and that's all I have. I really appreciate the opportunity for me to be able to share information with all of you. I also would like to congratulate you, as Tyree mentioned, on the NACD, a lot of recognition. When I was on the call, there was a lot of Virginia mentioned in there, and I was really proud of that. Even though I'm just coming into the team right now, it was really good to see that Virginia is up there in many, many ways. So keep up the great work that you do. I appreciate your partnership, and I will be looking forward to meeting one-on-one in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. We really appreciate that update. You did an excellent job for us. Thank you. Our next program will be from Virginia Association of Conservation District Employees Association, Sarah Tilson. Sarah, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
It's all yours.
Okay. As most of you know, I'm the Area 4 rep for our VASWCD, and Brandon Blevins was recently voted in as the new alternative representative. This past year in 2020, we had several service awards for our area for 5 years with Brandon Blevins, Siobhan Ishida, Mike Horn, and myself. Lisa Cope had worked for 15 years before leaving, and Tim Phipps has worked for 20 years, and Samantha Briggs, Sean Morris, Gina Waddle, and Chris Barber have all worked for 25 years. And then for 30, we have Wayne Turley. And I wanted to make sure that I pointed out that Brandon Blevins won for the state last year for the Virginia's Outstanding Conservation District Professional Award. Yeah, sorry, I got you scrolling all over there. And then last year, obviously the Graves training session and the annual meeting sessions were completed virtually, but this year we're still planning on doing the summer training in person as of now at the Graves Mountain Lodge for August 24th through the 26th. And we will be doing scholarships again for that, but you do need to be a VACDE member. You can either be a member before you apply for the scholarship or turn in an application, both applications at the same time. And I have heard from a couple people in our area that, we've really appreciated in Southwest Virginia being able to do the virtual trainings, that it's made it a lot easier to do more, not having to travel to Charlottesville and Stanton and Richmond and stuff. So I will continue to keep pushing for us to be able to try to do some of the virtual stuff, even though it is nice meeting in person. It's also nice to be able to just do a meeting in the morning and then go about doing what you need to do. And I wanted to point out that the VASWCD Marketing Committee has announced the launch of their marketing toolkit to assist with outreach efforts and creating brand awareness, and that you can go to the VAWCD website to access the toolkit. And then just as a reminder, it's only $15 a year to join the association to be a member. And the current membership statewide is 126 right now. And then that's all I have, unless you want to add something to it, Brandon.
That should be it. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. We do appreciate the presentation. We'll move into our business agenda. First of all, I'd like to ask if any districts got anything they would like to bring up that we don't have on the agenda, which if there's anything, it'll be something new, and we'd appreciate it. We need to do an area of Marathon update. Is Bonnie, are you going to do that, or so we can ask Bonnie to do the marathon update?
Actually, is Siobhan? Siobhan, do you want to give that update, since you kind of are spearheading Area 4's endeavors along with Area 5?
Sure. Are we unmuted? Okay. Let's see. So I will try to make a off the cuff kind of update, because I just wasn't ready to do this, but that's okay. So far, it seems like we have had our training, our virtual training, which unfortunately we just didn't get as many people on as we would have liked to. But all the presentations were recorded, so hopefully students and coaches will be able to access that. I know from Area 4, I believe we had 2 coaches and some students that did participate on that Friday, but that was a success and a kind of a good dry run for us to understand how the virtual area competition will go. I'll have to ask Bonnie to tell us the date of the area competition, because I don't have that right in front of me, but that is planned. I know we have a deadline of today to try to get the t-shirt sizes from anybody that has a team that's going this year to the virtual competition. You should be turning in your registration and t-shirt sizes to I think Trisha, or is it Sarah? I can't remember now, but check your email who you're supposed to turn that into. And if there was anyone that volunteered with your district to help in any way with Envirothon, to make sure to ask them for their t-shirt sizes as well. So t-shirt orders are kind of the topic of just right this weekend. I think the tests are all coming together for Envirothon, the virtual tests. They are going to the students are going to be able to log on and take the tests over a 1-week period of time. And I think that is all for now. I think that's probably a good update. Thank you.
Yeah, Siobhan, thank you. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just think that you and Sarah Gardner and Edna Justice and Elizabeth from Elizabeth Bennett from Tazewell and Rachel Duggar from Holston River have really worked really collaboratively with Area 5 staff there's a lot of moving parts this year because everything is virtual. How it's going to work is Area 4 and 5 teams will compete April 19th through April 25th, and they'll take the test on their own, and then they'll submit their oral presentations on the 19th to be judged during that week by oral presentation judges. And Area 4, I think, has at least 4 to 5 teams this year, which is really encouraging. And I do understand that some teams weren't able to compete just because of the uniqueness of this year, which is understandable, but I know that next year it will be even a stronger Envirothon. So again, thanks to everyone that's been helping, and yeah, go Envirothon.
Thank you, Bonnie and Siobhan. We appreciate that update, and we look forward to some winners coming out of Area 4. Our next item is appointment of nominating committee for area chair and vice chair. We're up for election at our winter meeting this year. I want to ask Pete Farmer if he would chair that committee. And I asked if anybody wants to volunteer, be on the nominating committee. Not hearing a lot of people speak up. Thank you. Go off of mute and come on in. Not hearing any names, I'd suggest we go with Phil Snap and Henry Snodgrass. And if anybody else wants to join in, I'm sure the committee would welcome a couple more members. And any suggestions or any volunteers to fill these offices. So we'll move on.
Gary,
Yes.
this is Lance Yates with Holston River. Henry Snodgrass is no longer on our board.
Okay, didn't realize that. How about Adam Wilson?
He is on the board.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. I didn't realize Henry had gone off the board.
Hey, Gary. It's
Yes.
Rachel. Phil Snap's just, he's not on our board anymore. He's just associate director. Does that matter?
Technically, I guess it does. I didn't realize he'd gotten off either. So I'm just showing my lack of updateness.
I have Chris King that might serve on it.
Chris would be a good one.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
ask him.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you helping out there. Our next topics will be district updates. And we'll do these pretty much in alphabetical order. So we'll start with Big Sandy. And I don't have the names of who's going to do the updates, but if somebody from Big Sandy will kick in, we appreciate it.
This is Anthony Justice. Can you hear me with Big Sandy?
I can hear you.
Okay. Can everyone else? Okay, so basically we focused on our VAX program this year, just trying to get our cost share funds allocated. And we've done that for fiscal year 2021. We've done a lot of outreach in the last year through mailings and phone calls and making one-on-one visits with landowners when possible. You know, COVID put a damper on a lot of things. You know, and we've been just trying to improve participation here in Buchanan County with our farmers. We're in the second year of a lime program that we started in fall of 2019. We use funds we received from Buchanan County for administrating the erosion and sediment control program for the county. And things are starting to pick up a little bit in this second year. We got more individuals calling in or inquiring about that lime program. So yeah, we're still administrating the ENS program, which includes plan review and inspection of ENS projects in the county. If I had just top of my head numbers, we probably had 5 to 8 projects last year ongoing. We still got about that many as of right now. Educational wise, you know, a lot of things COVID put a damper on doing educational stuff, but we were able to partner with the forestry department to do a virtual Kids in the Woods program. We are sending out like packets to schools this spring to do outreach as an outreach effort, and we will be assisting with the virtual marathon. So we were supposed to host last year, but of course it got canceled. So we're trying to help where we can with that this year. Other than that, you know, we've had some activities as far as we held an Earth Day event, which was recycling focused last year. We ended up collecting 11 tons of tires and 8 tons of paper, which turned out real good. And we're doing another one of those Earth Day events on April 22nd. We've also been sponsoring illegal dump cleanups and helping with litter index of our county and roads, and helping with school beautification programs. And other than that, that's what we've been doing this past year. Just trying to be involved where we can, and hope things will open back up here in a little bit so we can do some more things. So, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the update. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Our next program will be from Big Walker. And again, I don't know who's going to do the presentation.
It'll be me, Gary Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
We still have our mineral feeder program going, and it's been very successful. We've allotted all of our cost share funds for this fiscal year. Our seeder program is still going with 4 drills, and we're in the process of getting another drill. And we've already seeded over 400 acres this spring, even with the weather we've had. We're doing some outreach to new landowners that have moved to the area, since we have quite a few, and we're promoting that all participants take new soil samples, and we're promoting the nutrient management program, encouraging all landowners to get nutrient management plans. And we participated with Farm Bureau for Ag Literacy Week. We had a virtual Ag Literacy Week where we went to the libraries and read the books and videoed the reading. And then we did Zoom. The teachers did Zoom meetings with the students of the book reading. And we gave each class a book. And that's all I have, Gary.
Thank you, Rachel. We appreciate that update. Our next district will be Clinch Valley. And again, I don't have a name for who's going to do it, but so Clinch Valley.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Gary, this is Brandon Blevins with Clinch Valley. We are attempting to share our screen at the moment, and we will attempt to do so. All right, hopefully you're seeing. Can everybody see?
Brandon, we see your desktop.
Okay.
Can you drag that to your desktop and then?
How about this?
Here you go.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay, technology is awesome. Okay, so yes, here at Clinch Valley, we're kicking high. In case you have forgotten what humans look like.
The go to present button right there.
That's
okay.
There we go.
There you go.
That's what our humans look like. Of course, I'm Brandon Blevins. I'm a conservation specialist and the equipment manager here. Our new young fella is Hunter Wyatt. He's been with us going on now 2 years. And then, of course, our lovely district manager, Siobhan. Outdoor board meetings, that's been a new thing for us. We have a equipment shed that we put up over the past couple of years, and it kind of served multi-purpose this year. Speaking of the drill program, we have 2 of them. they are keeping the roads hot, even with the inclement weather, like what Rachel spoke about. We probably need more. We're kind of evaluating the equipment program now and trying to make it as streamlined as we can. I think we're probably about the same acreage that Rachel spoke about. I'd say that we're probably in the 400 acre range as of now with our 2 drills. Conservation on the ground. So for 2020, that was a major milestone for us. And I broke it down into basically the different practices that we did. And I think that that's probably some of the most diverse practices that we've done since at least Siobhan and I have been with the district going 5-6 years now. But of course, livestock exclusion is kind of our bread and butter down here. So these SL6Ws were very popular, 25 of those, and cover crops are kind of come along too. So we had 1 SL8, we had 13 SL8Bs and 5 SL8Hs. So we're kind of getting familiar with those. For 2021, we are all obligated as of now, and we received approximately $324,000. They're either completed or they are beginning construction, so we're happy about that. The big thing that we've been concentrating on here in a little bit, and Hunter especially has been concentrating on, are DEQ TMDL grants. And here recently we have had one that we've been focusing on, which was the $258,000 grant that we had in the Copper Creek watershed of Russell County. As of March, we have fully obligated all of those funds. So we're super stoked about that. Had lots of good conservation practices in the Copper Creek watershed. The new one that Hunter has also knocked out of the park is now what they are referring to as a Middle Clinch TMDL area. We were recently awarded about $250,000 for that. So we are very stoked to be able to offer those funds in that watershed, and we're going to focus on agricultural BMPs. Construction. We didn't get to deal with too many humans, but we made lots of animal friends during our construction. So here's a couple watering systems. Continuing, we have varied terrain here. So on the left, that's about a 30% slope that we're having to contend against. And the little skid steer there is a little skid steer that could. BMPs continued. We had lots of livestock watering systems go in, lots of wells being drilled, lots of exclusion fencing, and of course our cover crop program. Siobhan, you want to talk about education and outreach?
Sure. So the education programming has been a challenge, just like we've already reviewed. But one thing that I have picked up in some of our virtual trainings is always, let's try to focus on the things we can do rather than things we can't do. So I wanted to encourage everyone to try to do the poster contest. That has been successful as a way to continue to have kids be able to participate in conservation things without us having to actually be right there with them. It does seem like something that teachers can get kids involved with without us holding their hand particularly. So we'll be doing the tree themed one again this year, and we had success with the pollinator one last year. We also are lucky that we have a couple of teachers that have keyed in with us with our conservation capsules that we have here in the district. So I used to go and make those presentations myself, but some of the teachers know of them, and I'm able to get them out into to the community and have the teachers are doing the conservation led programs there. So we also are doing around Earth Day, we're doing a free tire drop-off program that always seems to be very successful each year. So that's something that's coming up in April for us. I would like to very much make sure we try to get to do our Clinch River cleanup this year. It was too difficult to manage last year, but hopefully we'll be able to get to do that this spring. And then finally, a really exciting project that we've been partnering with the local library here in the county is doing a water sampling project with citizen science kind of themed, so adult education with water sampling, and trying to focus on different areas, tributaries into the Clinch, and then some samples right on the Clinch of what how people can kind of monitor the different indices of water sample pollutants, and kind of understand how those things maybe are an example of what happens in the environment around the area. So so it's been a good introduction program that has been going on for a year now. So hopefully we'll be able to continue to do that. Okay, let's see. Okay. And so I just wanted to leave you all with this slide of our beautiful valley here, and hope that everyone can keep up the good work and know that Clinch Valley Soil Water Conservation District Board and staff will continue to investigate the best ways to protect the natural resources of Russell County. Thank you.
Yep, that's all for us. Thanks, Gary. Thank you, Kendall, and thank you, Area 4.
Brandon, thank you for y'all's presentation. We do appreciate that. Our next district report will be from Daniel Boone. So Daniel Boone.
This is Tim Miles. I guess I'll be giving an update for our district. Let me work on the screen sharing here. This is new to me. Does anybody see my PowerPoint slide?
Is this Kids in the Creek your presentation?
Yeah.
I can go ahead and share for you. If screen sharing's a little hard, just let me know when you want to move slides.
Okay. Well, as I'm sure you all know, a lot of the educational activities were affected this year. District staff and NRCS staff and our extension agent, we planned on doing a virtual Kids in the Creek experience this year, and we didn't want the sixth grade students that we typically try to outreach each year to be left out. So our extension agent was able to get a grant through Virginia Tech to purchase some materials for a hands-on experience. We developed a website for the students to personally go to learn about different natural resource topics. You know, there's different professionals presenting topics that they would learn about, you know, how they got to do it in person, you know, such as you see here. That link is the link to the site that was created. But, you know, you can continue on the next 4 series of slides. The money that we were able to secure was used to purchase materials for 4 different experiments. You know, the first being just kids learning about pollution in a watershed. You know, next slide. The next experiment that they could perform helped them to learn how to filter or purify water. Next slide. The third experiment taught them how to build a small-scale irrigator. And next slide. The last experiment was simply like a checklist of letting them realize, you know, monitor and record, you know, how much water that they use on a daily basis and ways to conserve water. So those were just some hands-on experiments that the 6th graders were able to have an experience with to gain more knowledge about water usage. But, you know, this seemed to be well received by teachers and students, you know, that they didn't get to be left out this year. So, you know, they were thankful for it. And other than that, you know, the district's been working hard on installing all of last year's cost share program money, and we've recently obligated all of this year's program money. And we continue to administer the erosion sediment control program on behalf of our localities. So that's just a brief update on what we've been doing this past year. And thank you for your time. Back to you, Gary.
Thank you there. We appreciate the report. It looks like you're doing a lot of good things with your virtual learning. Evergreen District is next.
Hi, Gary. This is Gina with Evergreen. We recently completed our audit for the last 2 years ending on June 30th, 2020 on a good note. We recently got that completed. We had some BMP verifications with DCR with Angie recently. And at the beginning of March, as of the beginning of March, we had approximately 17 approved BMP contracts, and the majority of our funds have been obligated for the fiscal year 21. Our North Fork Holston TMDL project that was set to end on September 30th of this year has been extended for 6 months. So it's good through, should be toward the end of March of next year. We still have some unobligated residential septic funds to allocate. And as Kevin said earlier, we've been working with the Virginia Association, VASWCD, to implement some VCAP projects. We're still renting out our 3 no-till seeders. And for some outreach, Evergreen, we're going to work with the Smith County Chamber of Commerce to have an Earth Day trash cleanup on April 22nd. And our district board approved a $1,000 district scholarship to be available for a Smith County student. So we should be determining the student that gets that soon. Our board also wanted to provide some funds to cover the youth conservation camp attendees this year, even though it's virtual. So we've got some funding available to cover those fees, even though they're very minimal this year. And that's all I have. I don't know if Sarah or Heather have anything to add.
Yeah, we got the most cost share funds we've ever had for fiscal year 2021. So we've been busy putting those out. Kind of like how Brandon and Siobhan were saying that we were able to do some cover crops this year. We had a lot of interest in them that we don't normally have. I think we'll be able to do more of that with the extended deadline for this coming up fall with the 2022 year. And then we're also finishing up from our fiscal year 2020 because we had a lot of people, a lot of our clients waited with all the COVID stuff, waited to get started on their projects. So we're finishing up with the 2020 and doing the 21 too.
Thank you, Gina and Sarah. We appreciate y'all's update. Holston River, Wayne, are you still in Holston?
I'm still here. Can you hear me? I'm going to assume you can hear me anyhow. I'm still here. One more time anyhow. As most of y'all heard already, the district in about March of last year hired Rachel Duggar to do the educational programs. It's been kind of difficult since that was about the time that COVID started and everybody was pretty much isolated. But she's been doing some educational kits and working with 2 high schools that are going to participate in Envirothon. We've also had a 3rd school that expressed a little interest. We'll just wait and see how that works out. We have been trying to complete a TMDL on the North Fork that we started about 3 years ago. About this time last year, DEQ asked us if we did extend it for a year, and they give us another $100,000. So we have spent that, and we're about to conclude that. We also have another TMDL to start this September the 30th on the North Fork. And actually, in the last TMDL, we actually done over 100 pump outs in that program. On the new one, we're going to extend, go west on the North Fork and do basically the same thing we did in the eastern part of the county. We've allocated 100% of our cost share money for the last year, and we're busy trying to get all of that installed. I noticed from Clinch Valley's presentation, we've actually done just about the same practices that they've installed this year. Maybe not quite as many. It appears our SL6s may be a little bit more expensive, but anyhow, we've done about the same variety of practices. Other than that, we're just trying to do the best we can and taking it one day at a time. And we thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate that update. Lonesome Pine.
I do. Oh, I was just going to mention, Mr. Roaring, I do have a presentation from Lonesome Pine, but don't know who's presenting. If you'd like me to screen share it and just let me know how to move forward.
I was waiting for somebody from Lonesome Pine to join in. Don't know where they're at. Do you want to just, Kendall, do you want to just scroll through it and give us time to look at this presentation?
Can certainly scroll through it, allow you a chance to read it, and hopefully Lonesome Pine can come off mute and offer a few additional tips.
There you go.
I am definitely impressed with every district's report, but certainly the innovation and education programs. You should be seeing a slide they shared with their virtual groundwater festival. I see in the chat box that Landon is having some technical difficulties to come off. I'm not giving your work the justice and kudos it deserves, but I'm really impressed with this presentation. I'll go a little slower in hopes Landon can come off, but it looks like there's even multiple teams and stations for their virtual groundwater festival. I am hoping before the end of the meeting, they'll be able to come off mute. I have a lot of interest in learning more about this mobile classroom. Certainly in a COVID world, it makes sense to be able to go to the school itself and provide in a socially distant way the opportunity to do some hands-on outreach.
And Ken, we'll give them a chance. We'll give them a chance to comment later on if they can get
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, our next presentation will be New River, and Tim Phipps will do that presentation.
Can you hear me okay, Gary?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it's been a pretty busy year here, even with all the COVID issues. Everybody else has been dealing with too. But our VAX, our BMP program this year, we've obligated about $400,000 in cost share funds. We worked really close this year with the use of CREP program a lot, and we planned and obligated $497,142 in federal and state funds. And we have about 47 acres of buffer scheduled for planting this spring of 2021. And we have about 5 other additional CREP projects we're working towards getting approval for in the next week or two. Our new TMDL cost share program we've approved, we got approved for this year was for $246,233. So far we've completed about 21 pump outs and 3 system repairs, and we've approved an additional 14 pump outs and 1 repair. The district's no-till seeder program is up and running already this spring. This past year, we planted right at 1,000 acres in Carroll and Grayson counties, and a couple of counties just outside of those boundaries. We help out sometimes in those other districts. The district also assisted VDACs with 11 ASA complaint sites this past fiscal year. It's a pretty busy year for the ASAs with all the rain we had in our area. The district's New River Hill Farm we were not able to have a lot of students out this year due to the COVID limitations. We still kept our rotational grazing system program going and active. We grazed 47 mixed stockers and heifers through the farm's 17 paddocks on 60 acres. The average daily gain before the cattle left was right at 2 pounds per animal per day. Our Virginia Tech summer intern Dan also helped complete our TSI, our timber stand improvement work that we were doing on our Norway spruce stand. We also completed and built 2 new access trails connecting the existing trail system through the farm. And then we had many other various conservation issues, pond health and dam issues, those kind of things this year as well. It's pretty busy overall. That's about I have.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. Scott County?
This is Matt. Gary, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to touch on a few points that the other districts have pretty much summed up. We allocated 100% of our VAX cost share. Every week, we're still receiving sign-ups, interest, so we're looking forward to getting some more cost share to spend next year. The 2 programs, erosion sediment and the no-till drill programs, have been wide open. I guess everybody's stuck at the house with COVID, teleworking, so we're very busy with those 2 programs as well. And that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, Matt. We appreciate the update. Our next district report will be Skyline.
Can you hear me, Gary?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to try to share the screen here. Hold on just a second. Can everybody see the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir. Looks good.
Okay, can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
I just can't hear you all. So, but I'll start with it. We have been working with some of the Mountain Valley pipeline funds that are administered to us through the association. And we basically sent out letters to those that had pipeline, that was affected by the pipeline and had access roads on their property. We tried to limit these participants for the first round of sign up. So, we would try to directly get the farms that had been affected by the pipeline. We had several inquiries on that, and we met with the potential farmers, and we actually approved 3 projects in February for about $230,000. And then we're going to open up the pipeline money as well, probably after the first of the fiscal year, to the watersheds. but we probably we still going to hopefully encourage the landowners that are affected by the pipeline to come aboard now and then. So that's sort of our strategy on getting that money obligated. And then after we go in the affected watersheds, then we will open it up district wide if we can't obligate all the funds. For VAX, we obligated about 751,000. We had 12 practices for those. We've been doing field work, survey, designs, and getting approval practices started. And we're basically completed up 20-year practices as well. So been real busy with our sign up, and we've already started signing up, participants for 22 and working on those plans. We won the Clean Water Award for the New River Basin. This year, it was Belhampton Farm in Pulaski County. And these are 2 short videos. I'm going to click on them and play them, and I hope everybody can hear them. You may have to turn the volume up on your speakers, but I'm going to go ahead and attempt to play them.
You don't actually, I can't hear anything. I'm not sure if others can, but it might have been merely when you share your screen, you've got to click at the bottom, the link for us to be able to hear your video also.
It looks like it may be a bandwidth issue. The video is rather jumpy.
I can't hear nothing. Yeah. Hey, hold on.
Can you reenact it for us, Chris?
Oh, what did I do?
Chris, this is Siobhan Nishida. We found, if you can hear us, we found yesterday just watching videos over Zoom, it just didn't seem to work perfectly. It was too slow and jumpy. So I would just suggest that you send us the link to those, or maybe we can try to check them out. Zoom just doesn't seem to show video well.
Okay. Well, I was having trouble hearing you anyway because my speakers were turned off. I didn't want to get bleed in. But those were 2 Clean Water Awards. The Clean Water Award, I interviewed the producer there on that one video, why he did what he did on the farm. And we basically fenced off about, I'm going to say it was around 12,000 feet of stream on his particular farm, planted 6 acres of riparian buffers, and put in like 5 or 6 watering troughs. And then I had Chance, who has been with us for about 1.5 years now. He is a fisheries biologist that worked for DGIF, and I had him explain why on his video, why the importance of what we do to the aquatic system and our streams. And so he sort of highlighted the importance of all of that work for the environment. So just to give you a nutshell rollout of what those were about. The education for the district, Cynthia has not done a lot of education because of the COVID, but she has been working on 2 educational videos, and she is going to work on some more of those. So hopefully COVID will lighten up and we'll be able to get back in the classroom. We've had board meetings. We've counted some. We've had one that was Zoom and in person. We had some at Claytor Lake State Park. We had several that were in person with distancing. We don't know what the future is going to hold with our board meetings, but we sort of miss not having a good board meeting every month. Since March of 2020, we hadn't missed a day here at the office. Since we're not co-located with USDA, we do not have to adhere to their regulations. And so we can open our office, and, you know, it's been by appointment only, and we've been in the field a lot, and we basically have just done a lot of work in the office as well. And so that's where we are with our office operations. And that's all I have. Apologize for the technical difficulties. Back to you, Gary.
Thank you, Chris. Can you provide a link to your videos for everybody to see? I think that'd be very interesting to see those.
We don't have a link to them. Maybe we can create one. Those are just in a PowerPoint for the Clean Water Award presentation. And, you know, for Kendall, that was why we couldn't give them to you, is because the size of the file was too big to send.
No problem. I can gladly work offline with you to maybe use Dropbox or something, and we can compile all the presentations from district updates and send to everybody who is registered and attended, because you're right. I think we're on the edge of our seat wanting to see those videos too and share. So maybe we can work offline and I'll be able to provide everything to those that attended today.
I think that would be good if we can get that accomplished. Our final district update will be Tazewell.
Good morning, Tracy. This is John Blankenship. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The Tazewell Soil and Water Conservation District has obligated all of the VAX funding and is in the process of getting the BMPs installed. We have completed our first VCAP project this year with the permeable tiles. The Education Committee has been preparing a multi-generational educational videos in the absence of school activities with multiple agency partners. Videos can be viewed through the district's YouTube channel. Our equipment rental has been moving right along and staying busy with our lime and litter spreader, as well as we've acquired 2 new seeders this year for a total of 3. And they're especially in demand right now because the county is helping us with a pasture renovation program coming up next week. So we've got a lot of folks that's needing the seeders to get that seed in the ground. Back to education, I've been working with multiple districts preparing for the virtual Envirothon program for the Area 4 and Area 5 competition. District is preparing our first workshop for creating livestock mineral feeders for producers out of recycled barrels and truck tires. The workshop will enable producers to minimize soil erosion and feeding at a feeding site and distribute minerals to the animals, moving them from paddock to paddock with rotational grazing program. The Tazewell Soil and Water Conservation District is preparing to host an outdoor make and take rain barrel event for homeowners and gardeners. And the district is also hosting Earth Day event on April the 22nd. We're viewing the movie Hidden Rivers. We invite each district to come join us for this drive-in style movie viewing that we have planned. We are also participating in Ag Literacy Week, reading the book Hey Water. I've been coordinating multiple cleanup events throughout the county, working with multiple volunteer groups and businesses to clean up Virginia's waterways. Been part of Keep America Beautiful and the Great American Cleanup programs. And we continue to promote the Virginia Soil and Water Conservation Scholarship Program, the virtual Youth Conservation Camp, and Forestry Camp. And that, among many other things, is what we've been doing in Tazewell this year.
Okay, thank you, John. Appreciate that update. Sounds like y'all are having a good year. We'll go back to the DCR update. Clyde Christensen has been able to join us now, I think. So we'll turn it over to Clyde and see what he can update us with.
Well, good morning. Sorry, I'm a little late. This is, believe it or not, it's not even just barely 11 a.m. and this is my 5th meeting today. Sorry I wasn't able to join you earlier. And I know that Kendall has already covered the budget information and you've already heard everything important from Daryl. So now I'll just fill you in on a couple of things, not to belabor your meeting. But first of all, as Kendall shared with you, we were very successful during this year's General Assembly in terms of the budget. And Kendall's brought the slides back up anyways that show the deposit to the Water Quality Improvement Fund and some of the exciting things. So in the introduced budget, there was a little over 30.3 million from the Water Quality Improvement Fund. And Kendall's showing the slide there. And of course, the one big thing the General Assembly did to improve on the governor's budget is the governor had proposed $500,000 for the VCAP program. And I'm sure as Kendall's already told you, the General Assembly increased that to $1 million. So that was really good. A really good step in the right direction. And then on top of the 30 million that had been in the introduced budget, the General Assembly added another $30 million to what was in the introduced budget. So what started out as looking like a lean year for us ended up being a really good year. And we're back up to, as you see there, over $61 million that we've got now for Ag BMPs. One of the most important things that we have been working in partnership with the association and our partners with Agribusiness and Farm Bureau for years. And I think we finally succeeded in getting that baseline budget for the VAX program for TA at 4.55 million. And that's based on the idea of a minimum program of $35 million in cost share. And the good news is that if this plan works as we hope, moving into next biennium, this is a base budget item. So it should not come off of the water quality improvement deposit, and it should be the base there available. And of course, with the additional 30 million the General Assembly added, as you see, there's an additional $3.9 million for technical assistance. So over almost $8.5 million available for technical assistance. And again, we're starting to get that. Our goal is to have that as a stable, that at least baseline number of the 4.5 million is a stable budget number that the districts can work off moving forward. A couple other pieces of legislation that I'll mention. Senator Hanger carried what was Senate Bill 1163, and what this was an agency bill, and this basically established a refundable individual and corporate income tax credit for 25% of expenditures up to a maximum of $17,500 for the purchase of conservation tillage and precision agricultural equipment. And that equipment just needs to be certified by the Virginia Soil and Water Conservation Board. So that's another tool in the toolbox. And it sunsets after tax year 2025, but the General Assembly often will extend those sunsets. And then the other piece of information I wanted to mention was Delegate, let me find it here. I'm sorry, scrolling through my list. Bear with me one second. There it is. Delegate Wilt had House Bill 1763, which creates an enhanced individual and corporate income tax credit, again, for tax years starting in 2021 through 2024 for implementation of certain agricultural best management practices that are required as part of a resource management plan. And the enhanced tax credit is equal to 50% of the first $100,000 expended in implementing these BMPs. And it should be consistent with the rate offered for each eligible practice under the Virginia Ag BMP cost share manual. So it sort of ties the tax credit to the cost share manual that your Soil and Water Board approves. So, and Daryl can certainly he helped manage those, and apologize, Russ Baxter was on the second meeting I was on this morning, and he's still over on that other meeting. So then the other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that Delegate Plum this year, as chairman of the House Ag Committee, ended up doing the annual resolution, and I'm going to find that resolution number for you in a moment here. It was House Joint Resolution 617, commending the 10 River Grand Basin winners for the Clean Water Farm Awards. And so I suppose we'll be working on getting copies of that resolution out to those 10 farmers who were recognized this year. It's been so difficult this whole year doing all this stuff virtually, but it's been a really good year, and I want to congratulate all of y'all. It's been amazing to see how the districts have just kept, and I've been listening into the district reports here, and everybody's just busy as could be, and we're all still moving forward, and it's pretty amazing to think, given the challenges that we face with COVID-19 and whatnot. And let's hope that maybe I'm hoping to go to an annual meeting in person next year, Kendall. I don't know what you're doing about that, but I'd love to be able to get the opportunity to see everybody in December in person. So Gary, that's all I have to add this morning. Thank you for letting me jump in here out of order at the end.
Thank you for giving us the update. We really appreciate the good news on the budget too. That brightens all of our days. And speaking of the winter meeting, I guess our Area 4 winter meeting will probably be determined by what the state association does, whether we have a full meeting, in-person meeting or not. And I'm going to ask Kendall to kind of update where we're at. I know that decision has not been made, but it's been talked about.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I don't know that I have, but so much of an update at this time. You're right, that decision hasn't been made. Wayne Davis, our second vice president, is chairing that annual meeting planning committee, which will kick off still this spring, usually in the May timeframe. And certainly know with his leadership and the officer team, we'll have to make that decision. We usually start planning an annual conference around May at the latest and have an agenda finalized by July, August, so that we can put registration information out by early September. It makes planning a little bit difficult, so we haven't made that decision, nor have we been able to contract with a hotel yet, but certainly holding space at the Embassy Suites at the Hampton Convention Center. So they have not, to my knowledge, opened the convention center back up. So we'll, in April, when they open, have that conversation with the convention staff, and then our team will start working on it. Hopefully by early summer, we'll have a definitive decision on how we move forward. But you're right, your winter meeting will really probably have to follow suit dependent on what the association's work looks like for an in-person conference. I will say, though, we have been able to contract for 2022, thanks to the Hotel Roanoke, who understood the issues this past December. We have shifted that contract and are really excited, if nothing else, to be at the Hotel Roanoke in 2022, where we will inevitably have a big party no matter what. Stay tuned for more input, decisions. If you would like to weigh in and be a part of any of those planning needs, please let me know. I'd love to tap you and engage you in those conversations.
Thank you, Kendall. Which kind of leaves us in a holding pattern on trying to talk about what the Area 4 winter meeting will look like. But we will have one. We'll plan it as we get full information and can say, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have an in-person meeting hopefully at a state meeting. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see and get back with everybody as we have that. Is there any other issues from directors or directors that would like to bring anything to the area meeting? Not hearing anything come up. In closing, I really want to go back and thank Kendall and her staff for hosting our Zoom meeting, making it possible for us to get together. I would prefer this to be an in-person meeting, but we got to live with what we got to live with. I really appreciate all the districts providing their updates. I thought they were outstanding. And I thank each district for their effort that they put into making this happen. And I'm really pleased with the participation level we had. It approaches what we would had in an in-person area meeting, and that's amazing. So I want to thank everybody that participated today. I want to thank all of our updates that we received from the agencies, NRCS, DCR, and the Employees Association, as well as Virginia Association. And with that, I'll ready to close the meeting without I hear other comments. Again, thank everybody for participating, and we look forward to our winter meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Boring. Well done.